Welcome to SF Commercial Property Conversations with Bruce Bean, where Bay Area investments meet expert insights. Get ready to unlock the strategies of commercial real estate success.
So today we have Senna De La Cruz with us, and he is out of the LA industrial market, which is going through some very interesting transitions right now. Senna, it's great to have you here. I want to just give a little shout out to what your history is of how you got to be in the LA market.
Great. Thank you for having me. Honored to be here.
So where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Torrance and Redondo, California. Southern California. I was very lucky to be from here, and came up through the Torrance and Redondo elementary, middle school, high school, and then went to University of Arizona because I knew I wanted to pursue a degree in business, and the Eller College of Management was a good place to start. So packed up from the coast and went over to the desert and went through school there.
That's fantastic. So then you decided to come back to LA to go to work.
That's right. I wanted to do commercial real estate. I'd done a couple internships. I did some in the residential probate. Actually, that was an interesting experience, probate auction.
Oh, wow.
And then I had a buddy working at commercial real estate firm here in San Diego. And he called me up and told me kind of the things that they were doing there. And it was very different than what I was doing at the firm I was at. And the commercial side of it piqued my interest just because it was a little bit more business centric. And so I started cold calling companies here in Los Angeles and ended up getting a job before I graduated college. I had one lined up, so it worked out very nicely.
Well, so was this a training position that you went into?
Yeah, so you're right. So the way it works is there's a couple of different ways you can get in. There's no one way to the bank, as we say, but you can start off as either like a coordinator. Back in the day, the firms would have what's called a wheel program. So you join as what they call a junior associate, and they'd run you through, okay, for these 3 months, you're going to be on the retail team. For the subsequent 3 months, you're going to be on the industrial team. Then you go to office, then you go to multifamily, and you kind of get to learn from different teams, different styles. And then at the end, you can kind of pick which one. I personally didn't go that route. The way I did it, I called the managing directors of several offices, CBRE, Cushman, and then finally Colliers. And I was put in touch with the managing director, and then they vet which teams have available positions. And then you go meet with the teams. And it's kind of a two-way street, right? You kind of got to like what they do. They kind of got to like you. And the personalities need to mesh, because in this business, there's some, how should I say, eccentric personalities, to say the least. So it's a bit of a two-way street, and then you kind of just hit the ground running. So yeah, I started off as an associate
in the industrial group.
In the industrial realm, yeah.
And they put you on the tenant rep side, actually, the national tenant rep side.
That's right. So I would just call on companies. For example, I can think of the biggest one in our industry is Amazon. So they have locations all over the country, and then so other logistics firms like that who occupy industrial space, manufacturers, e-commerce companies, even big box retailers, or any type of company that perhaps does some value add. So product comes in, maybe they assemble it, do some kind of value add component, and then it goes back out to either a business or somebody's front doorstep. And that's the space I play in.
Well, so that's interesting. So would you be representing, when you were on the national tenant rep team, for example, let's take Amazon as an example. Did Colliers have a relationship with Amazon, or you were trying to develop a relationship?
So I actually don't represent Amazon, and neither does Colliers. I was just using them as an example. But yes, in that case, there's some big corporations that are represented by Colliers or perhaps a competitor. And if you join a team where there's a big account like that, sometimes you can just, a lot of the time of your day is servicing that account while you develop your own book of business.
Right. Okay. So then you did that for a while, and then you decided to go out on your own and do your own tenant rep.
That's right. For about 2 years after the 5 years that I was previously with that other partner. And so then on the 2 years that I did on my own, it was really liberating and really fun, a great experience. I learned a ton. I was able to kind of go about things my way, try new things, you know, implement certain softwares. And then we talked about it before. I wanted to go into the landlord side of the business, which was representing institutional landlords or even private landlords. So I joined forces with this other team. There's two brokers and one coordinator and then myself. So a total team of four. And we spend a lot of time touring properties, showing properties, and updating landlords on the current state of the market.
So this is kind of reverse of some of the other podcasts I've had. Do you end up cold calling tenants?
Tenants, and depending on your line of business, that's just kind of what I did. But sometimes people get in there and just start calling owners. See if
yeah, of course.
sell, or perhaps they have a lease expiration coming up. They need representation in the marketplace. I just focused on tenants.
Yeah, calling tenant side.
Right.
Yeah. So even now where you're representing landlords, are you calling tenants?
Yes. So I kept my business, my book of business, and now I'm starting to shift and trying to piece together some owner deals. So calling owners, digging through LLC entities and getting the ownership info, cold calling them and saying, hey, market's a little weird right now. What are your plans for the property? I see you have a lease expiring in about a year or so. Love to come in and speak with you, bring our team in and show you, we represent 6 million square feet of industrial space. And here's some of the case studies that we've done for some of our clients who have yielded successful results.
Your team of four represent 6 million square feet
through the industrial LA basin. Yeah.
Wow. That's a big chunk of space.
Yeah. And I can't take, like I said, I joined forces with them. So they did very well in building relationships and building that book of business. So.
And now we have the famous time period of tariffs.
That's right. So if you want to get into that, COVID happened and, you lock everybody in their house. You can force some divorces, perhaps force some marriages or expedite some marriages, I would say. People, some businesses boomed during that time, some industries boomed. So you also perhaps forced or inspired some investments. So that kicks off the supply chain, right? Everybody's refurnishing their new home. They need new sofas, new TVs, whatever, new materials. So
they need industrial space.
That's right. So, and especially in that time when we locked everybody in their house, people needed products via delivery, right? They weren't going to the stores to get them. So that really just, set a fire on the industrial market. And, that did what it did. The vacancy rate ended up getting to below 1%.
Oh, really?
For context, yeah, we're now, at least in greater Los Angeles, because 40% of all the imports that come to this country come through the Port of LA and Long Beach.
Wow.
And so the warehouse market was on fire, got to below 1%. To give you some context, we're now over 5%.
Oh, wow.
Just 2 years later. So after you let everybody out of their house, they've been cooped up for however long it was, 2 years.
Right.
Everybody now wants to go be outside and go travel and, have experiences because they weren't having those experiences in their home. So, and then we stimulated the economy with all of those stimulus checks. So people were feeling good about themselves, had a lot of money to spend. So they went out, and now demand for industrial space has normalized, if not even gone below normal demand. And you couple that with the construction increase that developers were reacting to.
Oh, right.
Have an excess amount of space.
Right.
And so normalized and slightly declining demand. So after, everybody kind of went through their checkbooks and started spending money, then the tariffs hit And so now that's just another layer of, okay, now business owners are hesitant to make long-term decisions, even on top of, perhaps their revenue either stabilizing or even kind of, in some cases, being volatile.
So you went from 143% tariffs and now you're back to what, 30%, although everything's kind of still in flux, right? I mean, it's got to be kind of a whiplash approach to knowing what's going on out there.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah. So landlords and tenants, everybody's kind of basically just holding tight, trying to see when it's going to stabilize.
100%. And you and I were talking before that some businesses that are part of that importing industry, 90% of their business model is reliant on importing from China. So
90%. Yeah.
90% of their business is now completely, on hold, and it can change from one tweet to the next. And, it's just, it's certainly uncertain times right now is how it goes.
So let me ask you a kind of side question here. At one point, I think a couple of years ago, I heard that the Newport market, the port, was going to go to all electric trucks. Did that ever happen?
Yeah, there's mandates out, and there's this, they put requirements to where now you have to as this transition is happening, you have to put cameras up in your warehouse and track the amount of diesel trucks coming in.
Oh, wow.
So they're certainly trying to do that. Is it going to
Who's
actualize fully? I don't know at this point.
who's monitoring the cameras?
There's several companies that are getting in on that.
Oh, I see. I see. So it's sort of a subbed out to some companies to try and find out the stats on this.
Right.
Oh, so is the government paying for those cameras? Who's paying for the cameras?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly
I'm
sure.
not sure how that's all working.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's probably the buildings or the trucking companies. Who knows? Anyway, well, I was just curious how that all came out.
There's new information on that topic that comes out, and there's a pretty powerful group at the port. It's called the Harbor Trucking Association, that they're kind of in that mix trying to
Well, they're probably
figure everything out. And yeah,
pushing back pretty hard, I would think.
yeah,
Yeah. So are there some electric trucks out there already?
yeah,
Okay, so that is sort of happening.
sort of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not all that many. It's
And
not.
there's these regulations, Bruce, where, it's if you bought the truck, before a certain time and
Oh,
you got it registered, then you're good for like another 10 years or something like that.
I see.
You know,
Okay. So they're trying to get rid of the older trucks, basically. If you buy a new truck, you should buy an electric one, it sounds like.
you're right. Or a certain type of truck that that will pass the regulations.
Oh,
It's
okay.
new enough.
Oh, so there's some sort of regulation to keep the smog down, so to speak.
Right, right.
Well, that's very interesting. So what do you got any prediction for the future? It's hard to predict, right?
100%. Industrial real estate, I'm 100% optimistic on across the country and here in Los Angeles. I think it's going to come back. I'm not certain it's going to come back as fast as I would like it to, or a lot of people, that own industrial real estate. I think that through the end of the year is going to be certainly a challenge and a little choppy, but I'd say probably halfway through next year we'll have a good sense of where the market's at. Right now, where the term being thrown around is price discovery. That's
Price discovery. What's that mean exactly?
where everybody's trying to figure out, where pricing should be, and it's different from call to call, from deal to deal, right? So
Oh, in terms of lease rates, right?
that's right.
Yeah. So how are lease rates right now? I assume they're going down, but maybe not all that much further down.
Well,
Maybe.
they,
Oh, maybe.
yeah, there's, I would probably say that landlords right now are certainly reaching for some deals, especially if the tenant has some decent credit. It's
Yeah.
it's a good time to be a tenant right now. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, well, and sublease space is increasing, so that's probably helpful.
Right.
And that's driving the price down also, I'm
Right.
sure. Yeah. So
Mhm.
a wild world of tariffs. All right. So a year from now, we might have some stability. At least that's your crystal ball at this point.
That's my take. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Well, just for fun, before we end here, what's your favorite sandwich? Did you figure out the Madrid sandwich?
It might have, and I found it. It's a sandwich shop in Madrid, Spain called Divorare. I might be butchering that, but it's Divorare. You have to go.
You know, my son, uh, Vivora.
Yes, Divorare.
Oh, RE. Okay. Okay. Actually, I think my son's in Barcelona right now. He just flew
Oh,
out.
really?
Yeah, so maybe I'll text him and see if he
See
can
if they
play.
have one in Barcelona. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see. All
Yeah.
right. Well, that is fantastic. And you are obviously a big soccer fan, a big football fan. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for the Madrid team.
That's right. Yeah, my roommate will make fun of me if he sees this. So
All
I won't
right.
give him the link, but we're in rebuild mode right now, Real Madrid. At least that's what it feels like.
That's fun. That's fun. That's great. Well, it's great to have you on. Where can people get a hold of you?
Well, they can call me on my cell. They can send me an email. Do you want me to say it
Yeah,
verbally
sure.
or
You can. It's on the screen, but you can go ahead and say it.
yeah, you can reach me at 310-265-3397 or reach out to me at senna.delacruz@colliers.com.
All right. So if you have some industrial space you want to lease out or your tenant, give Senna a call for sure.
That's right.
Well,
I'd love
great
to
to
help.
talk with you.
Yeah,
And
Bruce, has been great. Thank you for having me.
I think we'll talk again in another 6 months to see how the tariff world is working.
Yeah, we'll see how good my crystal ball
Yeah, okay, we'll
prediction
we'll
is.
we'll take a note here and see in 6 months how it's going.
Perfect.
All right.
That's a wrap on today's journey through the SF commercial real estate scene. Ready to share your story? Visit sfcommercialconversations.com/guest. Your insights could lead the next conversation.